Hey, it's me, James. I'd like to welcome you to this follow-up video to my previous video, which was the Oracle Outlook video reading for the week ahead, and that was for the week starting August the 4th, 2025. So I am here with the 9-card box. That was the subject of that video reading, and so for those people out there who asked me to do a follow-up to the counting round line of 5 extraction I did in my Kipper cards by category video series, here we go. So in order for this to make sense, I'm going to leave a link to the prior video in the description box and the comment thread below in case you haven't watched that video, because some of the things that are probably going to be said in this line of 5 extraction video will make mention to or reference to what was said previously. Okay, so as I said in the Kipper cards by category line of 5 extraction video, you want to start with your 9-card box. So after you've gone through your 9-card box and all its permutations and you feel like you've gotten all the information you can glean from the cards, this is a nice way to kind of wrap the reading up or sum it up. And so this is about extracting a line of 5 from the 9-card box. And the way you go about it is that you start with your focus card, card 5. So you're going to take that out of the box. That becomes your first card for your line of 5. And then you're going to count 2. 1, 2. So in this particular case, officer is going to be the next card. Then you're going to count 2 again. 1, 2. Ecclesiastic is going to be the third card. Okay. Then you're going to count 2 again. 1, 2. Then we have letter. And then the final card will be 1, 2, and marriage. So now we're going to remove the 4 cards that weren't selected because we don't need those. And now we're going to form our line of 5 with these 5 cards. So marriage was the last card selected. It goes at the end of the line. Do it this way. Then we have letter, ecclesiastic, officer, and thought. Okay, so now when you're doing your line of 5 from a 9-card box, you will note that the focus card, whatever you determine the focus card to be, will be your first card in the line, right? Okay. And now when you're doing a line of 5, if you read the focus card or the hinge card first, like I do, then you have a new focus card, right? Because you're working with a line. So here we have ecclesiastic. So now remember, ecclesiastic is the card that can represent spirituality, faith. So here we have the focus being on either something of a spiritual nature, something of a religious nature, something having to do with faith. It could even be a person who is a spiritual worker. So this could be any kind of clergy person. This could be a card reader, like I said in the previous video. Somebody who is a diviner. Somebody who maybe is a spiritual healer, spiritual teacher, leader, anything like that that would fall under the category of the ecclesiastic card, right? So, but the focus here is on either religion or spirituality. Okay, and then we can go to the first card and then read the line in forward narration. So the first card is thought. So now you just remember what you said in terms of the focus. So in my particular case, I said this is about thinking and planning for the future. Yeah, giving much thought and consideration to a situation. Right. This could also be with ecclesiastic being the focus here. Again, this would be about spiritual practices like meditation, contemplation. Right. But it could also be giving thought and consideration to your spiritual life, your spiritual beliefs, spiritual traditions. And then the card in between is officer. Officer is about, structure, order, being disciplined. So if there is a plan for your spiritual life, your spiritual growth and development, ecclesiastic, then it may require, the middle card, it may require some sense of order, structure, discipline. Right? So let's say I used in the last video that if meditation is if the practice, needing to have some sort of structure and discipline regarding your meditative practice. Now this could also be with the officer wearing a uniform. So this could be possibly about taking a look at your spiritual beliefs and dealing with a sense of conformity, right? Because people who wear uniforms, regardless of the profession, they all look the same to some degree, yeah? So it's about, adopting a role or an attitude or a belief that comes across like you're just like one of a number of people, right? And so it could be a matter of, is that still true for you, or are you finding yourself breaking away from that? Right? Because the figure on thought is not looking at officer, right? Now this could also be actually doing things in the church, right? Because I'm looking at the officer card facing ecclesiastic, and what's coming to me in the moment is having a sense of duty or obligation to the church. Maybe somebody's giving some thought and consideration to that, or maybe even rethinking that position. It could also be, the thoughts and consideration about a spiritual path or tradition that is very strict. And that, that comes back to the idea about maybe something being very conservative or traditional, or what's the word I'm looking for? It'll come to me. There's a word in my mind. I'm trying to search for it. But it could be something that comes across, fundamental. I'm thinking like fundamentalism. Yeah, right? And maybe dealing with the strictness of that kind of life and lifestyle. Right, so that's what I'm seeing with these. Then letter is all about written forms of paperwork or documentation. So now this could be, some sort of written paperwork or documentation pertaining to maybe religion, faith, spirituality. I'm thinking if maybe somebody is studying. Oh, here's one that I didn't even think about. Maybe somebody who's studying or learning or taking some sort of education to become a spiritual teacher, leader. I was thinking more along the lines of becoming like an ordained clergy person, yeah? And that would require some level of structure, order, discipline, somebody who's being of service, somebody who's following the rules, quote unquote, of the church, right? Thinking about that. Then that would make sense with this. This would be about documentation, paperwork, in alignment with that. And then the last card here, the marriage card, would be a commitment, right? And it's a connector card, pink border, like I talked about in the previous video, and it connects to letter. So this could be, some sort of paperwork or documentation, and you were establishing some form of commitment. And here's the thing, in the marriage card, I'm going to hold it up. In the marriage card, there is a wedding taking place in a church. Yeah? So this could be a commitment within the confines of the church, or that it's a commitment where other people get to witness the commitment. Yeah? Just like people are witnesses at weddings. Right? So this could be about a commitment, a promise that is made in a public setting, right, where there are other people to witness it. And then it reminds me of the image, I departed from it in my marriage card, but in the traditional Bohemian marriage card, there is an officiant marrying the two people in the card, right? So again, that plays on the idea, like officer, about something becoming official or something being officiated. right? So now, the interesting thing, if you watched the previous video, this is a much different message than that each card offered in the 9-card box, right? So sometimes the line, you may think like, oh, well, because the same cards turned up in the box that are in the line, the message is going to be repetitive, and it may not. It may be something totally different, as the case was here, yeah? So if I make this more general, it could be for a number of us, because I am a strong believer that not every reading is going to apply to all the people who view it. It's based on my experience, both as a reader and as a person who has watched other readings on YouTube, right? A lot of times I watch readings and I go like, that has nothing to do with me, right? And then the reader does not offer any other perspectives or ideas or thoughts to kind of maybe take it out of the realm of the one possibility that is being spoken on, yeah? Which is why I like to offer more than one possibility, right? The message can reach more than one person in that regard, right? But, so coming back to this, it could be taking a look at either our religious life, our spiritual life, giving a great deal of thought and consideration to that. Is there some sort of structure or restructuring that we are undergoing? You know, is there a new discipline that we need to put into practice in that regard? Is there something that we need to commit to putting in written form? Or is there some reading or some research that we need to consider? Because this card could be about research and analysis, and this would be of documentation. And then in the end, it may come down to making a commitment. You know, you've given some thought and consideration about the commitment in the future. And so that is how I would look at this line of 5. I hope for those viewers who asked me to do a follow-up, I hope you found this helpful. And if you want to keep seeing these, just let me know in the comment section below, and I can continue to do this with as many different systems that I can come up with. The ones that I think work best, though, I will say right here in the moment, is that cards like the Bohemian cards, cards like the Kipper cards, Lenormand cards, even playing cards, because those are all systems that were back in the day used as or within the context of reading lines, boxes, tableaus, so they lend themselves more easily to something like this, a technique like this, rather than oracle cards. I'm not saying you couldn't do it with oracle cards, I'm sure you could, but it's these kinds of systems that lend themselves more easily to this type of reading. So on that note, this is James and Mitchell signing off. I look forward to sharing this space with you again in the future in some form of video reading. Until then, take care and have a great day.